Welcome back. Today I'm going to go over chapter 10 of Priscilla Presley's book, Softly as I Leave You. Priscilla says despite her busy professional life, her children remain the center of her universe. She describes Navarone as a, quote, pistol, and that he was not a picky eater. His nanny Martha would make him breakfast, and then Vicky, who's now Priscilla's personal assistant, would make him snacks whenever she would pick him up from school. She says sometimes she would take Navarone on trips and that he had an international palate, eating foods from other countries with no problem. Priscilla says that Navarone didn't speak like a little kid because he was always surrounded by adults, and with his only sibling being 19 years older, Lisa Marie was 19 years older, he was the only kid in the household. She recalls his first day of kindergarten where he was so excited to see boys his age. So he walked into the classroom and there were two boys. He saw one of them, she said his name was Joey. His parents were somewhat famous. And Navarone went up to them, to the two boys, and said, "Hi, how was your day?" And the little boys kind of looked at him, didn't know how to react to that. So then they just turned away and ignored him. And this really hurt Navarone. And Priscilla says that after that, she didn't much care for Joey because Joey had hurt Navarone's feelings. Priscilla says that Navarone didn't like school, but it wasn't as bad as Lisa, but that Priscilla would always make sure that he did his homework, and academically he did, quote, all right. She says his time at school wasn't as bad as Lisa Marie's because he didn't have to contend with the unwanted attention that Lisa had because she was a Presley. But she says word got around in his school who his mom was, and eventually there were kids, and sometimes the kids' parents would try to get his attention in hopes of meeting Priscilla. She said Navarone hated this and sometimes he would actually get into fights. She says Navarone had a natural ability to learn other languages, and whatever country they'd be in, he'd pick up the language pretty easily. When he was young and went to Brazil to visit his family over there, he picked up the Portuguese within 6 months. Priscilla says that Navarone was also a very mischievous kid. He would look up Martha's and Vicky's skirts, and he would look up girls' skirts at school just to push their buttons. And eventually, Martha and Vicky just stopped wearing skirts. He was a different kind of troublemaker from Lisa Marie, but she says they were both little scamps who got their silly traits from their fathers. She says Navarone was also really independent, and she recalls a time where one time they went to Disneyland and she was at a shop buying souvenirs, and she let go of his hand to pay for the items, and she looked down and he was gone. She says one of her biggest fears was kidnapping. For Lisa Marie, it would have been because she was Elvis Presley's daughter. Priscilla says for Navarone, it would have been for ransom. So Priscilla, upon learning that Navarone was missing from the shop, she ran around frantically looking for him and shouting, "Navarone, Navarone, where are you?" And she finally found him just strolling through down the street, or down one, Disneyland, and that he looked like he just didn't have a care in the world. She says after that, she didn't go out in public with Navarone without at least another adult to help watch after him. She said Navarone enjoyed dressing up in costumes, and she would dress up with him. His favorite movies were The Princess Bride and The Wizard of Oz. He was also very active and into sports, unlike Lisa. So she would drive him to all his games. Every single one of his games she didn't miss. Priscilla also enrolled him in karate, a sport that she and Elvis both loved. Navarone also loved and collected snakes and insects, which she said he still does. Priscilla says that part of the reason why Navarone was such a joyous and adventurous child was that he didn't have to grow up in the public spotlight the way his sister did. Priscilla couldn't protect Lisa from that, but she did her best to protect Navarone from that. Most people didn't even know Navarone existed, that Priscilla had a second child, and she would take measures to not take him anywhere where the paparazzi might be. She said when Navarone was born, Lisa Marie adored him. But by the time he was 7 or 8 years old, she started to see him as competition. Priscilla says Lisa Marie would accuse Priscilla of loving Navarone more than she loved Lisa. She resented the amount of time Priscilla spent with Navarone. But Priscilla says Navarone was at an age where he needed a lot of attention. She had to take him to sporting events and whatnot. And Lisa would ask Priscilla, "Did you take me to school?" Or say, "You're always taking him to Disneyland." And Priscilla had to remind Lisa that she and Lisa did the same things that Priscilla and Navarone were doing. Priscilla said these questions from Lisa were exhausting, and she felt bad that Lisa felt threatened by her little brother, but there was nothing Priscilla could do. Adding the fact that Priscilla said, Lisa was a grown adult with her own life and her own children. So for me, this is where I can see a real disconnect with Priscilla, and that a child, no matter what his or her age, will still need they will still crave the love and attention from their parent, especially if they didn't get it when they were little. So the fact that she's brushing it off like, yeah, sorry you feel that way, but you're an adult, like deal with it, is just, I think it's really sad. Poor Lisa. She says despite this though, Lisa and Priscilla remained close. In August of 1997, they were both at Graceland for the annual candlelit vigil of Elvis's passing. That year was the 20th anniversary. Priscilla explains that on the first anniversary of Elvis's passing, surprisingly, fans showed up at the gate, and that tradition has continued every year. She said another highlight for that anniversary that year was the video concert of Elvis. Some video technicians, I don't know what you call them, extracted Elvis's vocals from his concert appearances, and they were able to make it into a video of Elvis singing like it was like a live concert. And they showed it at the Mid-South Coliseum. There was a live orchestra and singers singing just as if it was a real concert, Elvis concert. Towards the end of the video concert, he sings "Don't Cry Daddy." After Elvis sings the first verse, the video cuts to a video of Lisa Marie singing the chorus, and they sing a duet together. At the end of the video, the real Lisa Marie walks out on a stage and thanks the fans for their dedication to Elvis's memory. Then she walks over to Priscilla, who's now standing off stage, brings her back on stage, hand in hand, where, quote, Priscilla says, "The audience's love washed over us." That's it for chapter 10. Stay tuned for chapter 11, where Priscilla discusses Lisa's music career, Lisa's marriage to Nicolas Cage, and why Priscilla will never marry again. See you then.